Senator Hoeven.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank all the witnesses for being here. Mr. Weiner, in North Dakota, we have national grasslands. We have national grasslands both in the western part of the state, but also in the southeast part of the state as well. And we do a lot of grazing out there. So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts in regard to the dual benefits that livestock grazing can have, both in terms of promoting more fire-resistant, healthy landscapes, and of course, at the same time, really helping our ranchers.
Yes, thank you for the there we go. Thank you for the question, Senator. I appreciate that. I think one great point that this brings up is that while the bill is called the Fix Our Forest Act, this is really about all types of landscapes impacted by fire. We think about chaparral landscapes that were impacted in the Los Angeles fires recently, and absolutely grazing landscapes like you have in North Dakota. One of the best tools that we have is grazing. And so we're really thrilled that the Fix Our Forest Act includes provisions to streamline authorities and approvals for targeted grazing projects, allowing cattlemen access to public lands for grazing in fire-prone areas. I think the other piece of this is the value of the Fireshed Center in helping states like North Dakota that have emergent wildfire risk understand what their risk profile is on the ground and act accordingly, right? I think a lot of the great work that's been done in the wildfire technology space in terms of understanding what's happening on the ground is being done at the state and local level with very well-resourced states and local governments. Other smaller states across the West are going to have a lot of catching up to do, and we think this center is going to be really helpful in helping.
Yeah, I mean, when these wildfires get going in the grasslands, I mean, we've had them burn down some small towns. Last year killed several people. So it's very serious, and we have to be able to address them. In a lot of cases, you know, we have the ranchers out there themselves, along with volunteer fire departments, trying to help, you know, contain these fires. Of course, the state does a lot too with, you know, helicopters and fire suppression and so forth. Wildfire seasons have turned into wildfire years, and costs have increased 82% to address it over the past decade. So talk a little bit about, you know, in this legislation, you know, what can you do in terms of cost savings and to really change that?
Yeah, well, I think that, first of all, the fact that we spend so much time with the permitting and planning side would be a problem at the Forest Service, even if it wasn't going through the crisis that it's going through right now.
Well, and talk specifically about permitting, how it's really going to work. You know, President Trump issued emergency action right now. How are you going to get permitting improved so it really works and is timely?
Yeah.
Does this bill do it? How does it do it?
I think this bill does do that. I think it does that through bringing a process to the emergency authority that is relevant to what President Trump announced and that Governor Newsom in California announced very recently.
Okay, there. Good point. Does that mean you can get the bipartisan, you had President Trump do it, and you've also had Governor Newsom do it? Yes. That really speaks to we ought to be able to pass this thing on a bipartisan basis and get this done, right? An actual solution in place, right?
Yes, Senator. The folks who are responsible for managing risk on landscapes, the executives out there, are moving in this direction in a bipartisan basis, and Congress should help put a process in place to make sure that it meets the desired goals.
Yeah, thanks. Mr. Gordon, I want to ask you about this interface where we have the urban areas encroaching on these forests, right? And that's happening all the time. And, you know, we just saw the dramatic, horrible consequences in California of that, you know, confluence of urban areas, you know, and these forests. So speak to what this bill does to really address that, a critically important and a life safety issue.
Yes, it is a growing issue, and to the extent that we're going to continue to build in these risky areas, and now a majority of new homes are being built in areas with wildfire risk, we have to do more wildfire safety preparedness and mitigation. And this bill makes the upfront investments that we need to do to save people, to make it more affordable long term. It includes things like encouraging hardening existing homes with wildfire-resistant materials, removing hazardous fuels, vegetation management. You talked about grazing, so important to reduce those fuel loads. Programs to better coordinate the various federal programs and federal and state services. So this bill is really important to make the upfront investments to make those buildings insurable and affordable long term.
Right on, and very timely, very timely. So thanks to you, Mr. Chairman, and the ranking member for this hearing. Thanks to the witnesses.